The Catholic Church has renewed a deal it made 2 years ago with China, which is an officially atheist communist state, concerning bishops there. The agreement now gives the Pope a final say over the appointment of them, but Beijing is the one who gets to come up with the choices. Chinese authorities had previously selected bishops without the say of the Vatican, and a division formed between state-sanctioned clergy and underground bishops who operated outside state control. The former Bishop of Hong Kong, Cardinal Joseph Zen, has spoken up about this. A pro-democrat, he has expressed concern over the Church's engagement with China. Here's DW's interview with Cardinal Zen.
China and the Vatican recently renewed a secretive agreement signed 2 years ago. It allowed both Beijing and the Holy See a say in appointing bishops in China. Former Hong Kong Bishop Cardinal Joseph Zen accused the Secretary of State Cardinal Lin of betraying the 12 million Catholic populations to appease the communist regime.
They always say a bad agreement is better than no agreement. I cannot understand. A bad agreement means an agreement which is immoral, which is against our faith. How can it be better than no agreement? Incredible. So it's a betrayer, and I suspect that Parolin wants to have this diplomatic relation re-established. But that's very bad because that's a political thing. It's not religious. We are religion, so first of all, it's our faith.
Cardinal Zen journeyed to Rome earlier this month in hopes to meet the Pope, but in vain. He is worried that the underground church in China will face even more persecution as state-run church gained legitimacy from this secret agreement.
The 2 years since the agreement, the things went wrong, very wrong. Because the underground received no support from the Vatican. The old bishops die, and the Holy See don't give new bishops to the underground. They give many bishops to the official church. And now in the official church, all the bishops are legitimate. You made them legitimate, but they are still bad people there. And so the underground feel abandoned, betrayed, because they are those faithful to the authority of the Pope.
Cardinal Zen was born in Shanghai 88 years ago. He came to Hong Kong in 1948, just before the communists took power in China. He thinks the Vatican is on the wrong track of Ostpolitik, the appeasement policy towards Beijing.
The Pope John Paul II, the Pope Benedict, they had a very different experience. They lived under Nazism, then under communism from Russia, and the Pope comes from South America. It's understandable that Pope Francis had a sympathy for the communists, because the communists in South America are good people. They come out to defend the poor people under the totalitarian military government. But now China is under the communists. The communists are the persecutor of politics. Actually, it was a failure in Europe, but now they use the same method for China. So it was a disaster.
He's been an outspoken critic of the communist regime over the years. That could put him in risk under the national security law imposed by Beijing. But he refused to remain silent.
I would be a liar if I say I'm not worried. Everybody is worried to lose his freedom. But that's okay, because you see, we believe in God. And when God gives you a duty, He is going to give you also the strength to do that duty. Okay.
For more, we have Martin Gack, DW's religion correspondent, joining us. Martin, Cardinal Zen just talked about his point of view, and it does seem as if it's morally complex for the Vatican to be engaging with a country like China with its human rights track record. What is the point of view of Pope Francis?
I think that there is a political concern, and that political concern is how is it that one deals with a government that has had a rough going with the religious group that essentially the Vatican leads or represents. And the second question is the moral question. How is it that the Vatican should position itself in relation with a country that has actually a very well-established record of human rights violations? The position of this Vatican is actually one that is fairly understandable, which is that they concentrate on engagement, because they think that actually this engagement leaves the communities, the Catholic communities in China, at a very serious disadvantage. So the position is not perfect, but that is probably because it is impossible in such a situation to actually produce a perfect solution. The issue here is if you have people on the ground that are dependent on the good offices of the Vatican, then the Vatican has to engage with the Chinese government. Obviously, this doesn't please everybody, and Cardinal Zen is one of them. The US is another actor in the same position.
Well, you just mentioned the United States. Cardinal Zen had tried to gain an audience at the Vatican with the Pope. He didn't get one. Another person who tried to meet with the Pope was U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and he wasn't able to gain an audience. What was that about?
Well, I think that, the issue with Cardinal Zen, but much more pronounced with Mike Pompeo, is that they come into the Vatican, or they come with conversations with the Vatican, essentially in the middle of what are very public battles between China and regions, I mean, in the immediate geographical space, but also sort of an electoral battle in the case of the US. And this is something that the Vatican systematically, and it's not only this Pope, has essentially avoided, which is getting involved in what are essentially public campaigns. So this Vatican is one, this Pope is one that has done most of his policy work, specifically in issues of international affairs, behind closed doors. We find out only months later exactly what is that was happening. So I think that the reaction, in a sense, is correct to say that they were parallel. I mean, the Vatican was avoiding the spotlight into which Cardinal Zen and Mike Pompeo wanted to pull the Vatican in.
One of the things Cardinal Zen was talking about was the situation of the climate in China. And it is a fact that there are bishops that the Vatican recognizes before this agreement from 2 years ago that the Chinese government does not recognize. And these bishops have been operating underground. They've suffered for their beliefs. And in fact, my understanding is at least one of them, to my knowledge, was arrested this year. He is 70 years old. Do you feel like some people at least feel as if the Vatican has turned its back on their most faithful in China?
I think that there is justification probably in the sense that if China is the government, I mean, is actually treating this way Catholic communities and particularly bishops and priests appointed by the Vatican without essentially the certification of the Chinese Communist Party, then dealing with the Chinese government is essentially a form of betrayal. But I think that this leads us in a way back to the first question, which is, how is the Vatican to calculate how to protect these communities other than, to some degree, engaging the Communist Party? So, I mean, it's quite clear that simply getting out of the stage and letting the Chinese government do as they please is no solution at all. It might be very satisfying morally. It might be very good to be able to say, well, we have done the right thing in terms of principles, but it leaves all of those people that you just mentioned in a very precarious situation.
Now, we know Cardinal Zen's point of view and feelings. Is there controversy among the church leaders about Pope Francis's decision?
Most certainly, most certainly. I mean, it's not a decision. I mean, the extension of the agreement with China that was taken lightly. Also, because there is a very strong internal fight, which actually pits conservatives within the church against many of the people that circulate around the Pope's sphere. So in a way, what Pompeo and now Zen has been saying for really quite a long time, especially in the context of battles that politically have to do a lot with China, as in the US, really give ammunition to a lot of the people that are standing there criticizing the Pope.
Martin Gack, thank you.
My pleasure.